Hi everyone, delonewolf here and welcome back to the Sunday recap, my weekly vlog where I talk a bit about my last week in games. And as always, we'll start with EVE Online, where I spent a little bit less than average this time. Last week was still under the war deck, of course, so I don't really feel like taking too many chances. I also don't feel like evacuating straight back to Solitude or another place, because at the moment I want to see how everything evolves and try to keep you guys up to date. But it has been rather uneventful. Despite the fact that they came and took down shields from 3 of my structures when the reinforced timer came to an end, I was ready, but we saw no one. Now this is something that does happen more often. In fact, what I was expecting was perhaps a mail or a conversation asking me if I wanted to pay ISK in order to keep my structure safe or something like that. That's something that has happened in a previous war deck early on after the structures were introduced into the game. Yeah, I basically saw nothing. I kept doing my patrols, although I don't have a lot of footage from any of that. In my stealth bomber, haven't really seen anything. I also did a couple of rounds, quick rounds with the auto jack dodges, clearing out anomalies, just to do a little bit of EVE Online stuff, but really next to the blueprint copies, which are a lot slower at the moment because I'm doing them from an NPC station and no longer from my structure, and the PI, I haven't really done too much. On the other hand, I think that the market update is very fascinating. I think we need a little bit more time to see what the actual impact on the game and on the markets will have been, but right now I think that velocity is down substantially. And what is very noticeable is that you get sell orders with much smaller volumes than before, because of course relisting now costs a lot of ISK the more you have to do it, and so people try to avoid that. Something that has become basically very valuable are slots to put in your sell orders, so people may actually be going with more alpha clone alts and things like that just for the sake of trading without having to do too much relisting, and that does mean that the volumes per sell order seem to be going down very quickly. And then of course we've got those 4 numbers in which you can change the price that I think will make things far more volatile whenever demand picks up, whenever something changes in the game, because with just like a small number of volumes this time, of course, you can go up substantially higher in price as well, because you can't point one each other anymore like you could before, especially for larger items, of course. So overall, yeah, not a very busy week for me in EVE Online, but that's actually fine, because of course there's a new league, Path of Exile, that has just started, so it's not coming at a bad time. And mostly I'm looking forward to what CCP has to say about their development of the game, which is of course everything that they had planned for FanFest. I mean, it's like basically 2 weeks out, so it shouldn't be that long until we get all of that news, and I definitely look forward to that, and I'm really curious to see how CCP is planning to get all of that information to us. Can't wait to see some dev blogs, some maybe videos, maybe streams, stuff like that. I hope that it'll be fun to follow, and that'll be cool information. Next up we have a little bit more Dota Underlords, but that has definitely been going down substantially as the league for Path of Exile came closer. So I've been doing a couple more challenges, and I really encountered a problem. One which is that I needed to evade a certain number of attacks. Now before the patch of Season 1 you could basically get a certain synergy that would, the more of them you had, the higher the chance that your units with that synergy would be able to evade attacks. Now that is gone, and all you can really do is have one item to give to a hero that hopefully takes a lot of hits, so he's pretty tanky, and that way you can try to evade some attacks. But it was very slow going, definitely not worth it for the amount of XP that daily challenge gave, and it's really something that is at the moment out of balance, which is also in my opinion the case for the what are they called? Ghostly, no, it's for the spirits. So there's a spirit synergy which has like I think 4 or 5 Underlords at the moment, and they're basically very strong early game, but the later you go, their AoE doesn't scale well enough, I think. So and it has a big problem as well. So that one is a synergy that, in my opinion, doesn't work too well to get into endgame. That's a little bit underpowered at the moment. The main reason for that is almost every other synergy basically works even if you lose one of the Underlords or the heroes that has that synergy. With the spirits, what you need is at least 3 of them to have triggered their ability. Then they'll place themselves around the map and they'll do an AoE attack in a couple of ways. That's basically how they work. But of course that means that if you lose one of your spirits right off the bat, then their synergy becomes completely useless. And so I think that there's a bit of work to be done there, and perhaps, you know, they're spirits, so they're meant to be a little bit more ethereal in nature. Maybe giving them like an evade bonus as well could help with both making that that challenge a little bit more doable, and with giving them a little bit more of an edge, a bit more survivability, to at least up the chance that they will all be able to trigger their ability, and then that they'll have you know, the advantage of their full synergy bonus. So it's interesting, but these guys do feel a little bit underpowered, and then they made someone a little bit overpowered, especially against summoners, and that is what was he called? Bloodseeker, I think he's called. So he's got like the only one right now that's got the Deadeye synergy, and it used to be that he basically consumed his life as he stayed on the field, and he needed to get kills in order to get that life back. And so what happens now is that his attack speed increases as the HP percentage of his target goes down, and he no longer just loses life. Now, he was a little bit of a problem, but you know, with the synergy that he had as well, which was Bloodbound, he could get some crazy damage numbers if you got him to tier 3. So I didn't feel like he was that underpowered, but now he really feels overpowered, because he can sometimes just chain the kills, especially when you get some AoE on the field as well. That brings down the percentages of a large part of your heroes. He still goes for the lowest HP hero first. So that is an interesting rework, but I just kept being dominated by players that were using him just consistently. So I do feel like it's overtuned a little bit basically at the moment. There's no real way to prioritize targeting him, for instance, so that makes a little bit of a problem. But as I said, this was only Dota Underlords in the first part of the week, because after that we were you know, switching to another game. And that is Path of Exile with the new league called Delirium. Really interesting stuff, very difficult as well. I ended up making the choice to go for softcore in the trade league, just the standard league for this one. The main reason was because I kept thinking, well, I would love to do hardcore again and really try to push a character, but I also know how depressing it feels when you, for instance, get to the maps and then you lose your character. You feel like all of that progress is lost, all of that time is lost, and so I decided to, no, alright, we're gonna try to push ourselves a little bit past where we got to last time, which was basically I got into tier 16 maps, couldn't really handle them that well, and so I'm still not at the real end game, at the final boss and all of that stuff. So perhaps we can try to push ourselves a little bit further for this league, and the easiest way to do that, to explore more of the content, is to go, of course, into the softcore trade league. And it turns out that it was a good choice, because the mechanic is very difficult in my opinion. I died like 4 times at this point on my character, so I would have had to do quite a few restarts if I went into the hardcore mode. It is potentially super rewarding, because I did get one map where I got the mechanic early on, and it gave me like unique items, and so the more stuff you kill while in the delirium phase, the higher your rewards becomes, and I got 5 uniques from a single area, from a single one of those mechanics. So the potential there is absolutely huge. I am playing with the Necromancer Popcorn again for the skeletons that burn their life down. I'm waiting for the right one-handed mace, of course, that gives them that ash extra burning effect, which means that they'll just do more damage and they'll blow themselves up more quickly. It's a lot of fun to me just to go with the summoners, and something that's different this time is I'm also going with the skitter bots, which means no mind over matter, but they are basically super fast, a constant source of extra damage as well, because I can give them Infernal Legion. And so, yeah, that's the way I'm going to build this one for softcore, focusing at the moment fully on the damage, except for my specters. I again took shield specters that can protect me from outside damage every other, I don't know, 10 seconds or so. It's pretty good. I do feel like I'm making progress, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, Path of Exile is a great game. If anyone has never tried it, I highly recommend that you give it a try, so that you can at least familiarize yourself a little bit with the game as well, because of course Path of Exile 2 is coming on the horizon, which is just going to get rolled into the base game at this point as well. At least that's the plan from GGG, and I think it's really fascinating. It's an incredible game. The leak 3-month reset that they have, you know, it means that you get fresh starts every 3 months pretty much, which is so much fun, honestly, to get in on the ground level with everyone else, watch the streamers be excited, plan out their builds, and then watch them go really hardcore, because I mean there's guys that can do crazy stuff in Path of Exile. At this point it's also still super complex. You can find crazy builds by yourself that you yourself develop, and so yeah, it's a lot of fun, honestly. And so right now that's going to be my focus, of course. Try to get through the war and then play some Path of Exile. That was my last week in games, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, I'll see you next time.